How's everybody doing? Welcome to the channel. So today I have a special guest on the channel. Not a special guest. This is my sister, Sam.
What's up?
So for those of you who know who we are, we kind of have a story that we wanted to share. And we have some Instagram questions that we like to answer as well. But it's all regarding our sobriety and how long we've been sober, why we wanted to get sober.
What led us to this place that we're in now?
What led us to the point we're at now. I have almost 4 years under my belt.
I have 54 days.
54 days.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. And that's big because you never thought you would get sober.
I had hoped I was going to, but I didn't see it anywhere in my near future. So here I am.
Here she is. So we wanted to talk about it. And for those of y'all who wanted to hear it, we got some questions and answers we'd like to kick off before we actually go over some of the gritty details.
One thing I really love is making love. It goes round two, let's get it. You know.
That we'd like to share about how we got to this point. So if you want to read some of your questions and answers, Sam, we'll answer. Not questions and answers. Read the questions and we'll answer.
Now, some of this might be kind of hard to talk about, so bear with me especially.
Her especially. It's easier for me to talk about now. I'm pretty much, everything is on the table for me, but she's still fresh doing this, so.
All right. First question is, how could someone identify or help someone who wants help but doesn't know how to ask?
That's hard because I'll let you answer and then I'll go.
For me, I had to get to the point that I was willing to ask for help, which took a long time. So, unfortunately, you can't really help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. You can do all of the right things and say all of the right things. And I think until that person is ready, I know until I was ready, I wasn't going to ask for help. And that's what stood in my way for a long time, was I was too afraid to ask for help. And I thought I could do it on my own, and I couldn't. So.
And that's what I was getting at as well. Like, it's painful being a family member or a friend and watching someone you care about go through that. But when you're on the outside looking in, prayer is one of the only things that God's got you. You know what I mean? And
He's working even when you don't know he's working.
What I've learned is there's nothing really you can say to somebody that's addicted to, especially like an opiate or whatever the drug is. There's nothing you can really say to somebody to motivate them to be like, you're right, I don't want this anymore. If they're in the middle of addiction, like that drug, they're not thinking about your words of wisdom. Like, they don't give a shit about your inspiration. It's got to be, they have to, or you have to, like, you have to physically take them away from that drug. Whether it's calling the cops on your loved ones, getting them arrested, not to put that on anybody's situation, but that was, in my situation, that's what changed me is getting arrested, going to jail, and spending years away from this substance. I was literally, and even in there, I could have got it, but once it was harder to get in the beginning stages, it was easier to stay away from, and then I kind of got my brain back in my head, and I was able to finally realized that this isn't what I want. So I needed to be physically taken away from that drug.
Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, and everybody's bottom is different. But unfortunately, that's what it takes sometimes before somebody is willing to get that help.
You went to rehab, so because you wanted to, and family kind of pushed you a little bit to push them to go to rehab, push them to get help. That's what I would do.
Well, I hit my bottom, so I was at my bottom for a long time, but I was finally there. So, next question. How do you deal with other people's judgment and stay focused on yourself?
When you're under the when you're
after the fact. Now, I guess talking about and being open about your
addiction?
Yeah.
You just got to say F it, you know what I mean, and realize that you can help somebody by the things you got to share. That's I talked this is kind of different. I talked to somebody in the gym yesterday who lost 140 pounds, and I said, bro, you don't talk about that, you don't share it. He said, I don't want to sound cocky. And I understand that whole humble mentality of not wanting to like talk about yourself a lot, but you realize like you can help people by sharing your story and what you've learned.
Exactly.
People need to hear this stuff. Like people need this is people. The world goes around from communication and people. Like you need to hear other people's perspectives. Like this needs to be talked about.
But I think it is important if you have a story to be open about your story, because you never know who could help in the process.
Yeah.
So everybody's gonna judge you at some point. I mean, there's always gonna be somebody out there that has something to say, even when things are in your past. But you just kind of have to look at the bigger picture and remember why you're doing it.
Yeah. Also, I have to keep talking about it and reminding myself, because sometimes I forget. I forget how life used to be for me. I forget what I once was. Once a certain amount of time, you know, you get caught up in life and you forget. But you can't forget where you've been and where you've came from, because you can help somebody with your story. So I feel like resurfacing it is always, constantly resurfacing it is something that needs to happen.
Can you pinpoint the moment this started for you? Was there a day, event, or etc.?
Addiction? Pinpoint when it started.
When it became an issue?
I realized I probably had an addictive personality since the beginning of time. I mean, I can think back to every little thing, whether it was stealing as a kid and getting hooked on the thrill of stealing in 5th, 6th grade, and then just getting an addiction to that, and then just as things go on, you get addicted to certain, you know what I mean, drugs itself. Probably started smoking at 13, 14, but like a true addiction, I mean, to not being sober, probably like 14, 15, 16, all of high school. Opiates came into play when I got out of jail, about 6 months after I got out of jail, when I was about 21. Up until I was 24 was a big opiate. From when I got out of jail till I went back to jail, between ages 21 and 24, was my addiction prime.
For me, like he said, my active addiction started before I even tried my first substance. Like he said, stealing. I was addicted to attention, if you will. I was addicted to shopping, spending, shoplifting, all that stuff. Anything that would give me a temporary high, rush, moment of pleasure, even though it would soon go away. For me, I started drinking by 14, started smoking weed by 14. Around 16 was when I started experimenting with pills, and by opiates, because I don't know, maybe some people watching aren't really familiar with drug terminology. I guess there's some people out there who probably don't really know what like opiates are. But for us, it was pills, oxycodone, Percocet, Vicodin, fentanyl, pressed pills, that kind of stuff. Also doing benzo, Xanax, Klonopin, Valium. Whatever really there was, I would do it. And then I would start doing Adderall. By 18, I was doing coke. I was in a relationship for 3 years and we used pretty excessively. At that time, I didn't think I was an addict. I actually remember saying that I didn't think I had an addictive personality because I was always doing different things. There was never one thing at that time that I considered myself addicted to. So I would say, see, I'm not addicted because I can stop any one of these things, but I still had to be on some type of substance majority of the time because I was addicted to being in an altered state of mind. So it progressed. The older I got, and then once I found my drug of choice, most of that other stuff stopped. I didn't drink as often. Doing opiates kind of took away that desire to really do anything else.
Once you find opiates, there's no other no other drug matters anymore.
Yeah, nothing else could match up to that high that I was chasing with opiates. So yeah, there wasn't really an event or a day. It was kind of just
over time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you do it once or twice, and you're like, all right, this is cool. I don't need this again for a month, and then a month, and then it turns into 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, a week, and then you need it every time you see it, every time you get a chance, and then you need it to wake up every day.
yeah.
And it happens it'll happen to you, and it'll happen to anybody. There's nobody that can beat this drug. And I've heard it so many times. I mean, I've said it, everybody says it. No, this drug can't, I'll never get like that. I promise you will. I promise you will.
Well, and then there's some people out there that maybe are wired differently, that, let's say, take pain pills because of a surgery or whatever, and they don't really get that feeling, and they can put it down, you know. But once you realize you like that feeling and you keep going back for more, it becomes more than just a mental thing. It literally, like, your body needs it to function normally. What do you both believe it takes to recover from addiction?
You need to stop long enough to find another passion. You need enough sober time under your belt, however you get it. It was forced for me. She went to rehab, and during that time, you need. If you're an addict, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with replacing an addiction for another addiction that's a good
Healthy.
addiction. You know, like now I'm not just addicted to working out. I'm addicted to just being a better version of myself every day, getting things done, being productive. That's what I do for fun. When people are like, you need to enjoy yourself, you know, being productive is how I enjoy myself. Gaining, every day is how I enjoy myself. So I'm passionate about being a better version of me now, So finding a passion, working out, beating new, old results, doing better, making my body better. I mean, that's my new passion. That's what I believe.
Yeah, like you said, you do kind of have to replace that with something you're passionate about, and that can be anything.
Because if you don't, you'll just be bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and boredom
You'll be like,
is
"Whoa."
dangerous for most addicts. For me, to recover from it, like I said, had to hit my rock bottom. I was fortunate in the rehab that I went to was, in my opinion, like the best possible place I could be. So going there was the hardest decision that I've ever made, but also probably the best. When I first went there, I said that I was only going to go for 5 to 7 days to detox and get the worst part of my withdrawals over with. And still had in my mind that I was still going to get out and drink here and there, but being an addict, there's no such thing as here and there. It's kind of all or nothing for me. And after being in rehab for a couple days, it didn't take long for me to know that I had to be there longer, and that I had to get rid of everything. I couldn't just stop doing opiates because I knew that if I were to quit that and start drinking, I have no reason to believe that in the absence of my drug of choice that I wouldn't then start drinking heavily, or or let's say I'm under the influence, it might then lead me to do other things. So recovery for me, what's been most important is staying connected. Having a good support system has been everything for me. Having my brother, having my parents, and the relationships that I've formed with people that I was in rehab with, their connection has been a major key in recovering from addiction. Staying involved in things that you're passionate about. For me, I go to meetings, NA and AA meetings every day. I have a sponsor who kind of mentors me, I guess you could say. And I've had to learn who I am again without drugs and alcohol, and figure out what I like what actually makes me happy outside of using. And that's been a really big thing for me. Trying new things, like being outdoors, just finding new activities that I like, that I didn't even know I would like, because I never thought that I could have fun being sober, and I was wrong. And so that's one of the biggest things for me, is finding joy. You know, you have to find joy. You can get sober and not do anything and be miserable, and what's the point, you know? And that will ultimately just lead back to addiction, you know? So it's important to stay happy, you know, do something you're passionate about and make a difference in the world. I think that's a big thing.
Something you're proud of yourself. There's no better feeling than just being proud and like accomplishing something. That's like the ultimate high for me. You know what I mean? Another thing, something that I always found I wanted to prove people wrong. So you know what I mean? I've had a strong urge to prove people wrong that once doubted me. Like if you once thought I could never change, I wanted to prove you wrong. I wanted to show you that I could. So that's another thing. So like, I don't know if everybody else would have that same urge that I had. I don't know what would make it grow on you, but I had that strong urge where like, you thought I was going to be this forever? I want to show you I'm not. Mm-hmm. So grow that. If you can learn to like think like that, prove them wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What made you make the change? What did you see that really made it click? That you needed to change?
I went to prison. I had a dramatic life experience that finally made me realize what substances were doing to me. What pill, I'm going to stop talking, and what drugs and Percocet was doing to my body and to my brain, and how it was affecting me.
For me, what made me change was as cliche as it sounds, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired literally all the time. I was tired of the ups and downs. I really exhausted all of my options. I ran out of money, and I told myself for a while that when it came time for me to get off drugs, that I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own. I came to that conclusion. I knew I was going to need help. I knew I was going to need a support system. So shortly before I went to rehab, I actually told a friend of mine who was the only person aside from my drug dealers that knew I was using, because we were using together. She was the only person that knew, and I told her, I'm going to need to probably go to rehab. I don't know when, I don't know, how, but it's going to need to happen. I'm going to need to tell my parents sometime in the near future. I'd even wrote out a letter to my mom, because I didn't think I was going to be able to tell her on my own. So I wrote out a letter, basically pouring my heart out about my problem, and I couldn't find myself to give it to her. So the day before I went to rehab, I was out of money, and I knew that I was about to run out of what I had, and I didn't know how I was going to get it. So I knew I was going to start withdrawing soon. The last time I used was a Tuesday morning, and I went to my parents' house with intentions of talking to them about it. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was still feeling okay. So I decided to stay the night there, and during the night was when my withdrawal started kicking in. I didn't sleep the entire night, and by the morning time, I was really, really sick. I was laying on the couch, and my parents were sitting in the living room with me trying to figure out why I was suddenly so sick. And my mom thought that I had COVID or something. She told me I needed to go to the hospital, and I knew that that wasn't it. So I just laid there with the blanket over my face, and they were basically just guessing. They were trying to guess what could be wrong with me. And finally, I don't remember which one of my parents, but I think they both actually said, "Is it drugs?" And I said yes. They asked me if I was going through withdrawals, and I said yes. So my mom put her hand on my leg, and said, we're gonna get you help if that's what you want. And I said that it was. So she called the rehab that she actually knew about already. So she called them, and they said that they had a bed available for me that day. So I went home, I packed a bag, and I went. And yeah, I was there for 28 days. And yeah, that's what made it click for me.
Something that I always remember, something that somebody said to me one time. If you want to go up here, no matter what, you're always going to have to go way down here. So just stay right here. And eventually, you spend enough time sober, being right here feels like up here.
Yeah.
I don't need to feel what this feeling is, because being right here, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the natural high lasts way longer. You don't have to come down. So.
Well, if we helped you, if you needed this, I'm glad. This is just a small part of our story. Just, this is mainly a mindset that we're in right now. But stay tuned, because we definitely want to keep sharing more sobriety talk. You know what I mean? It's something we're passionate about. So if you're passionate with us, and you can relate to us, reach out, talk to us. You know what I mean? If you got some advice for us, if you want to drop some jewels on us, do it. We want to hear it, and drop some comments.
If you have any questions or anything that we missed, feel free to ask us.
Yeah, I'm sure we missed a lot, and I'm sure, but that's a part of the journey. Keep up with the journey. It's a lifelong process. You know what I mean? So
this is just the beginning for us.
It's just the beginning for everybody. So. That being said, I appreciate y'all watching. Drop the comments, share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Sunflower Sam. I'll put the link. Kevy Kev. Follow the brand Incline that we both founded.
Okay.
Are you not wearing Incline?
I am very inclined.
Oh, I'm about to say.
How dare I?
How do you?
How do you? Thanks for tuning in.